what maybe ex-players or ex-players who are pundits now have got to realise is that it's very hard not to listen to it now, especially for some players who are not used to it or some players who are new to the environment. So yeah, I always feel like they have a responsibility. I know they've got to be honest and give their opinion, but also they have a responsibility of being an ex-player, an ex-England player that a lot of players looked up to, that, you know, people do care about what they say and people do listen to them. So like I touched on, everyone's got their opinion, but the bottom line is we haven't won nothing as a nation for a long time, and you know, a lot of these players were part of that as well, and they know how tough it is. So it's not digging anyone out, but it's just the reality that, you know, they do know that it's tough to play in these major tournaments and tough to play for England. But yeah, look, I'd never disrespect any ex-player. All I'd say is just, you know, remember what it was like to wear the shirt, and that their words are listened to, and you know, some of the lads, or I don't know how many of the lads, but you know, you do hear it, and we all want to win a major tournament. I'm sure they want us to win a major tournament, and yeah, being as helpful as they can and building the lads up with confidence would be a much better way of going about it.
Oh, that's asking a lot, isn't it? You know, oh yes, you did very well when they didn't. You know, yeah. I just think, look, I love Harry Kane. He's a brilliant player, of course he is, and he's had a great career. But just do the talking on the pitch. Just don't even rise to it. Say, no, I don't care what Gary thinks. It's not up to me to respond. The only way we can respond to any criticism is on the pitch, and that's the truth, isn't it?
Well, let's hope they do tomorrow. Yeah. Joining us now, then, from a service station somewhere in Germany, en route to somewhere else, is Faye Carruthers, our England correspondent. Hi, Faye.
Hello, how you doing? It's no Knutsford, I can tell you that much. It's called Rimsburg Services, and we are about 100 miles outside of England's training camp, with about 140 miles left to go until we get to Cologne, where we're going to be doing matchday -1 activity and press conferences and interviews ahead of the game tomorrow.
With Ed, who's driving you across country, he took a picture of the lorry part, which people on YouTube can now see behind you.
Yeah.
But a nice lorry driver in a high-vis sitting at a bench having a beer. There we are. Nice touch.
That's what you want.
Yeah, watching. We've got a new fan. We're recruiting as we go along. We've been every single place we've been. We've collected people along the way. We've got them subscribing to talkSPORT's YouTube channel, and new listeners out here.
We spoke to Stan Collymore on Friday, and Stan was talking about 3 at the back and 4, and looking at all the different. And I said, but ultimately we're doing all this, Stan, but we do know the only change probably will be Conor Gallagher for Trent, and it sounds like that is the case.
Yeah, and it makes sense, really. You know, it's not really worked the last 2 games. Need to be able to draw, you know, the opposition out and create spaces, and that's exactly what Connor's good at doing. He's brilliant at pressing, he's harrying, his energy and work rate are really high, and that's been the main criticism, actually, of the last 2 games, is that their energy has not been high enough. Certainly when you bring Connor on, you know, he doesn't stop running. So it's the change that we all expected. We just need to see the improved performance once we come to the game against Slovenia tomorrow night, because that's the only way to silence the noise outside, is to turn up to the tournament and start playing well.
There was a bit of excitement to see Luke Shaw in training, Faye, but he's been out since February the 18th, and that's longer than a summer. That's longer without a pre-season. He can't have more than 20 minutes in maximum.
This is the worry, isn't it? But, you know, 20 minutes to make an impact could be a huge difference. I mean, I don't think he's going to be ready to come on against Slovenia, even though he's training today. It's the day before the game. I think it's highly unlikely. However, he might potentially come on for 5-10 minutes just to get some minutes, you know, competitive minutes in his legs, if England are in control of the game and looking comfortable. But yeah, it's looking tougher and tougher to see how he's going to put any, you know, decent work into training to then be available for the group stages. At the moment it's going to be really difficult, but he's such an important part of this England side, and the width that he brings to it and the way that they play. We've seen what he can do. He's scored in major tournaments, and you know, he's a massive miss obviously with his left foot. So even just to get him for 20 minutes, it could make a huge impact in the game. They wouldn't have brought him if they didn't think that was possible.
Just that one change, then, if that is the case, Faye, it sort of hints at the fact that Trent was the only issue, which he clearly wasn't. I mean, even John Stones talking to you yesterday saying that Phil Foden loves to play through the middle. We still have got to find a way to accommodate the quality we have in those positions.
Width, have some balance. There's no balance.
I mean, I think most
team.
people felt Gordon would get a look in. I mean, look, Gareth is generally quite a conservative coach, but I mean, I think there was a feeling that having some width, better service to Kane would make a difference. So if you're just making that one change, is it enough? Is it going to make that big a difference? I guess we won't know till tomorrow night.
Well, I suppose it's going to depend. They might get a foothold in the game first of all and then make changes. I mean, the criticism had been of Gareth Southgate that he didn't make changes early enough and didn't make dynamic enough changes, and people thought that when he brought on Conor Gallagher after 54 minutes for Trent Alexander-Arnold, another 10 minutes into the second half, and it still wasn't working. And then he changed his entire front three because they needed energy. So that's really important going forward as well. So he has done it. It's quite vital. So we'll see what happens in tomorrow. So I keep getting distracted. Our Ukrainian friend who's joined us is just chatting away during me talking, watching at the same time, having a conversation. I can't understand what he's saying. And Laurie's coming in left, right and centre additionally. So fun and games at Rimsburg services.
We don't know how he feels about Ukraine so far. I mean, I suppose your Ukrainian probably not good enough. Is English likewise? So we'll never know, maybe.
No, I'll have to get Google Translate out. That's coming, reasonably handy. I'll try that again. I might put "please be quiet" on it in Ukrainian as well and see if he maybe understands that.
The big shock out the England camp, of course, is Lewis Dunk putting tomato sauce on everything. We're asking the listeners about that today. Even on his Sunday dinner. Hey, blimey.
Yeah, unbelievable. When he sat down and talked to me, he said to me, "I'm so laid back, I'm horizontal." I'm like, yeah, and he literally was. I was doing the interview with him, and he was pretty much laid right back horizontally. So yeah, he's a very chilled out character, hoping to get some minutes himself as well, which would be great to see from his point of view. But I think the partnership of Gay and Stones is working really well at the moment.
There's been a lack of criticism of the lack of pressing of the England team, and Gareth said they're not fit enough to press. And there's a headline in the Sunday Times yesterday: Premier League has exhausted England players. No wonder they lack pace, tempo and urgency. It doesn't seem to affect other countries' Premier League players. Denmark looked very energetic to me. They got half the Brentford team in there, so I'm not sure that's right. And I just wonder, Faye, and this is something that I haven't heard anyone's raised, but after the season ended, the players had a week off. Then they come and join up with training camp. Is the training for England as intense as it is at a Premier League club? Because I can't see there's any excuse for these players not to be fit, compared to other teams.
They've all been saying they've been training really hard. I mean, you can train too hard, I suppose, but yeah, it's a fair criticism to make. I need to talk. All of the players have said they've really enjoyed training. I mean, they're not going to come out and sit with me and say we hate it, it's too much, or we're all tired. They're not going to, come up with things like that. And I don't see it from their body language when I'm seeing them, in training that I'm able to watch and out and about and in the stadium. But then it comes to the match day, and a couple of caveats. And I know that this was the same for Denmark as well, but it was so hot pitch side in Frankfurt, and the humidity was really intense. They kept the roof over, and it was absolutely roasting. Really difficult conditions. The pitch was terrible as well. But as I say, same for Denmark, and they did look like they had more energy, but I think they were just a bit smarter with the way they were conserving their energy. And it's something that Gareth Southgate mentioned to me after the Serbia game, that they pushed too hard in the opening 45 minutes and just didn't pace themselves and leave themselves with enough energy in the second half of that game. So that's certainly going to be something that they're going to be talking about. And obviously, Jude Bellingham has played an insane amount of football. He was only in the Champions League final, 2.5 weeks ago. It's a long season for these boys. I know that a lot of the criticism is going to be that they're professional footballers, they get paid a lot of money, this is what they're there to do. But from pre-season to now, it's pretty much a year of solid load. It's a lot, and it's something that Gareth Southgate and his coaching staff are trying to manage at the moment.
Finally, Faye, I'll take you in here from Gareth later on. And we heard from Harry Kane at the top there in response to Gary Lineker and Micah Richards and stuff. But he's bound to be asked about it. He has been a pundit himself. It'll be interesting to see what he says. I mean, I listened to the podcast on Saturday, actually, before it all blew up, and yeah, he did use those words. He was without the constraints of being on the beeb. He did loosen up a bit, but
it's hard to dispute it.
Yeah,
though.
and he also was pretty rounded in what he said. He talked about how they'd come up short. He talked to, you know, I think within the context of it, it's not quite as blunt as everybody is saying. But it will be interesting to see how Gareth handles it later.
Yeah, definitely. It's not useful, but at the same time, that's what they're paid to do, and they're paid to have an opinion. And, you know, I think if you listen to what Harry Kane had to say as well, he said that. So you can't take Harry Kane's comments in isolation as well. He was asked the question directly. He answered it. He just said, you know, it's not that helpful. Perhaps they should, you know, he didn't criticise them in terms of their opinion. He said they're well entitled to it. But I think he was just trying to put the message across that it does get heard and it does get listened to, and it doesn't really help. And if everybody wants England to go on and lift the first trophy since 1966, everybody kind of needs to be on board. But, you know, they've been England players for long enough to know that they're going to... It isn't like that, Andy. It isn't, you know. But I think maybe, from what I'm kind of reading between the lines, it feels as if the younger players are maybe taking it a little bit more to heart than you would think. So, yeah, it's very difficult.
Faye, we'll let you get back on the road. We'll hear from you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can't hear you very well. Sorry about that.
Well done.
That's fine. All those diesel fumes, they're not good for us. They're standing there.
Part of Kane's quote, so I think it's important just to kind of switch the mind off about the day off. You know, we've done well in the tournament so far. You think... It's hard, you'd be hard pushed to say that. They haven't done well, have they? You know?
I mean, look, they got 4 points.
That's not the point, is it? They haven't played well, but they have got 4 points.
But he did say that.
If they end up with 7 points out of 9 and they qualify, then no one's going to say
They've been doing yoga in the gym, and they've got inspirational messages on the wall, one of which is find your greatness. I'd say find your teammate, ideally. Kick off with that.
That'd be a good idea.
And let greatness follow.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.